My wife thought I was broke. Betrayal, she cheated, stole $43,000, and served me divorce papers in my hospital bed. Stay broke. When she learned of my $47 million inheritance. In court, my lawyer, watch this. She froze. Imagine waking up from emergency surgery, still groggy and stitched up, only to find your wife standing over you, not with concern, but with her lawyer and a stack of divorce papers. It was a move so calculated, so utterly heartless, it could only mean one thing: she knew about the money. But to truly understand that moment, we need to rewind about 6 months, back to when our suburban house, usually filled with the comforting scent of sawdust from my custom furniture workshop, started smelling of something entirely new, something expensive, and utterly foreign. It was a Tuesday evening when my wife, Chloe, came home late from the gym. She dropped her bag, and there it was, a sharp, designer men's cologne. Not the cheap stuff, but the kind that screams, "I'm trying too hard." I didn't say anything that night. Maybe I was crazy, maybe someone at the gym just overdid it. But then it happened again the next week, and the week after. Around the same time, Chloe's routine, once as predictable as the sunrise, started shifting. She began leaving for the gym at 5:30 a.m. instead of her usual 7 a.m., claiming she wanted to beat the crowd, even though our gym was never that busy. She started dressing differently too, dropping serious cash on expensive designer workout clothes from brands like Lululemon and Alo Yoga. We're talking $200 leggings. When I asked, she'd just shrug, say she got a bonus, and wanted to treat herself. Fair enough, I thought. She works hard. Then came the overtime at her tech startup. Her job had always been demanding, but suddenly she was staying until 8 or 9 p.m. multiple times a week, sometimes not getting home until after 10. She said they were working on a huge product launch, everyone pulling extra hours. And I believed her. We'd been married 8 years, together for 10. She'd never given me a reason to doubt her. We were middle class, comfortable, saving for kids. Everything seemed fine. But the phone thing, that's where the first real cracks showed. She used to leave her phone on the kitchen counter, out in the open. Now, it went everywhere with her, even the bathroom. Then, one morning, I went to check the weather on her phone, like I'd done 100 times, and the passcode didn't work. She'd changed it. When I asked, she mumbled something about work security updates due to a data breach. Again, it sounded reasonable. I wanted it to be reasonable. Then the money started getting weird in February. We had a joint checking account for household expenses, and separate ones for personal spending. Our joint account started running lower than usual, even though we hadn't bought anything major. When I pulled up the statements, my stomach dropped. Cash withdrawals. $500 here, $800 there, sometimes $1,000 at a time. Over 2 months, Chloe had pulled out almost $12,000. I tried to bring it up casually over dinner, and she immediately got defensive. She mumbled about buying gifts for her mom, not wanting it on a credit card statement because they shared an Amazon account. It was a bizarre explanation, but I didn't push. I just couldn't bring myself to interrogate her. But the withdrawals kept happening. By March, she drained over $25,000. $25,000. That's not a birthday gift. That's a red flag waving like a hurricane warning. The breaking point came on a Saturday in early April. Chloe said she was going to a work conference in Chicago. Left Friday morning, said she'd be back Sunday night. Sunday afternoon, I was cleaning the bedroom and accidentally knocked her laptop off the nightstand. The screen lit up, and she was still logged into iCloud on the browser. I know I shouldn't have looked, I know, but my gut was screaming. I opened her messages, and my stomach just dropped out of my body. Hundreds of messages with someone named Liam, going back almost 7 months. They were explicit. Talking about their future together, making plans to leave their spouses, trips they'd taken, hotels they'd stayed at. And photos. Lots of photos I won't describe, but you can imagine. I sat there on the bedroom floor, reading through months of lies, and I felt like I was going to throw up. The worst part was reading her talk about me to him. She called me boring. Said I had no ambition, that she felt trapped in a middle-class life with no excitement. She said she deserved better. Meanwhile, Liam was apparently some hotshot sales director at a medical device company, married with 2 kids, telling Chloe he'd leave his wife, Olivia, as soon as the timing was right. I took screenshots of everything. Hundreds of messages. Sent them all to my email. Then I started digging deeper. I found bank statements in her email for an account I didn't know existed. A joint account with Liam's name on it. And they'd been putting money into it for months. $43,600 total. Money she'd been stealing from our joint account, and money he'd apparently been hiding from his wife. They were building an escape fund. I sat there, frozen, until midnight, the cold dread seeping into my bones, documenting it all. And when Chloe finally walked through the door Sunday night, beaming and full of fake stories about her conference, I just smiled. Asked her how it was. She said great, very productive. I nodded, and went to bed. Monday morning, I called a divorce attorney. Her name was Eleanor, and she was exactly what I needed, sharp, experienced, and she'd handled cases like mine before. I met with her that Monday afternoon and laid out everything I had, the screenshots, the bank statements, the secret account with Liam, all of it. Eleanor looked through the evidence for about 20 minutes without saying a word. Then she looked up at me, a slight smile playing on her lips, and said this was one of the most clear-cut cases of financial infidelity and marital misconduct she'd seen in years. She told me not to confront Chloe yet, not to let on that I knew anything, because we needed to get our ducks in a row first. She filed for a temporary restraining order on our joint account so Chloe couldn't drain it. She started preparing the divorce papers and told me to keep living like normal for another few weeks while we built the case. Those next few weeks? Pure torture. I had to go home every night, kiss my wife goodbye in the morning, and pretend everything was fine, all while knowing she was meeting her boyfriend. Then, in late April, something unexpected happened that changed everything. My Uncle Thomas died. I hadn't seen him in probably 5 years. He lived in Montana, and we weren't particularly close. But he was my dad's older brother, never married, no kids. I flew out for the funeral, telling Chloe I'd be gone for 3 days. Honestly, I was glad for the break from pretending. The funeral was small. Afterward, his lawyer asked me to stay behind. Uncle Thomas had left me something in his will. I figured maybe it was his pickup truck, or some tools, something sentimental. The lawyer took me to his office the next day and told me that Uncle Thomas had been an extremely successful commodities trader, investing wisely for 40 years. He'd left his entire estate to me because I was his only nephew, and he'd always liked that I worked with my hands and built things. The estate was worth $47 million. I literally thought the lawyer was joking at first. I asked him to repeat the number, and he said it again, $47 million in stocks, bonds, real estate, and cash. My world, it just tilted on its axis. I'd gone from expecting a beat-up truck to finding out I was worth more money than I could spend in 5 lifetimes. I flew back home in a daze and didn't tell Chloe a thing. By this point, I knew we were getting divorced, and Eleanor had already told me that anything I inherited would likely be considered separate property, as long as Chloe didn't know about it before the divorce was filed. So, I kept my mouth shut. The stakes had just gone interstellar. But here's where Chloe, bless her greedy little heart, made her first major mistake. Apparently, she'd been monitoring my iCloud account without my knowledge. Probably for months. And she saw the email from Uncle Thomas's lawyer about the estate. She saw the number. $47 million. And suddenly, her careful, calculated plan to slowly build an escape fund with Liam went right out the window. Now, she saw an opportunity to take half of a massive fortune, and she moved fast. Too fast. Too obviously. It destroyed her entire strategy. 2 weeks after I got back from Montana, I had to have emergency gallbladder surgery. I'd been having pain for a few days, and one night it got so bad Chloe drove me to the ER. They said my gallbladder was infected and needed to come out immediately. They did the surgery that night. I woke up the next morning in a hospital room, feeling like I'd been run over by a freight train. Chloe had gone home to get some sleep, promising to be back in the morning. She showed up around 10 a.m. But she wasn't alone. She walked in with a man in a suit who introduced himself as her attorney, and she was carrying a folder. "No, how are you feeling?" "No, do you need anything?" Just her lawyer, a folder, and that cold, calculating look. She pulled up a chair next to my hospital bed and opened the folder. Inside were divorce papers. She told me she wanted a divorce, that she'd been unhappy for years, that we'd grown apart. She thought it would be best if we ended things amicably. Then she slid the papers across the bedside table and told me to sign them. I was still groggy from the anesthesia and painkillers, trying to process what was happening. I asked her why she was doing this now, why she couldn't wait until I was out of the hospital. She just stared at me, dead-eyed, and said she wanted to get the process started as soon as possible so we could both move on. I looked at the papers and immediately saw what she was trying to do. She was asking for 50% of all marital assets, including any inheritances received during the marriage. She knew about Uncle Thomas's $47 million, and she was trying to claim half of it. Her attorney stood there with his arms crossed, looking very pleased with himself. And Chloe had this expression on her face like she'd already won. I was lying there in a hospital bed, 12 hours after surgery, and my wife was trying to strong-arm me into signing away $23 million. "I need to read through these more carefully," I managed to croak. She got annoyed. "There's nothing to read. Everything's straightforward. The sooner you sign, the sooner we can both move forward." I told her I wasn't signing anything without talking to my own attorney first. She got visibly angry. Said I was being difficult, that she was trying to make this easy for both of us. Her attorney finally stepped in and said they'd give me 24 hours to review the documents, and they'd be back tomorrow for my signature. Then they left. They literally just walked out of my hospital room and left me there. I waited until they were gone, then I called Eleanor. She was there in less than an hour. And when I showed her the papers, she actually smiled. She said Chloe had just made the biggest mistake of her life. Serving someone divorce papers while they're recovering from surgery in a hospital bed showed such obvious opportunism and bad faith that any judge would see right through it. Eleanor filed our counterpetition the next day, and we went to war. Chloe had assumed she was playing chess while I was playing checkers, but she had no idea what was coming. The discovery phase? It was a bloodbath for her, because we had everything documented, every text message with Liam, every dollar she'd stolen, every lie she'd told. And her attorney clearly hadn't done his homework because he seemed genuinely shocked when we submitted our evidence. We had bank statements showing the secret account with $43,600. We had messages where she and Liam explicitly discussed hiding money from their spouses. We had her own words calling me boring and saying she deserved my money. And we had proof that she'd been illegally accessing my private iCloud accounts without permission. Eleanor also subpoenaed Liam's wife, Olivia, who turned out to be more than happy to cooperate. Turns out, Olivia wasn't exactly thrilled to learn her husband was building an escape fund with my wife. She'd discovered the affair around the same time I did and was filing for divorce too. The court hearing was scheduled for late September, almost 6 months after I'd first discovered the affair. Chloe showed up looking like she was ready for a business meeting, professional suit, hair done, acting confident, like she still thought she had a chance. Her attorney tried to paint her as a woman who'd been unhappily married for years, simply trying to get her fair share after sacrificing her career to support her husband's business. It was complete fiction. Chloe had never sacrificed anything for my furniture business. In fact, she'd mocked it multiple times in her messages to Liam. When it was our turn, Eleanor systematically destroyed every argument Chloe's attorney made. She presented the text messages on a screen in the courtroom, and you could literally see the color drain from Chloe's face as her own words were read out loud. Eleanor showed the judge the secret bank account, showed the cash withdrawals from our joint account totaling over $30,000, showed messages where Chloe told Liam she was going to take me for everything I had once she found out about the inheritance. Then, Eleanor dropped the big one. She presented evidence that Chloe had illegally accessed my iCloud account to monitor my private communications and financial information, which is a federal crime under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. She also presented testimony from Uncle Thomas's lawyer, confirming that the inheritance was left solely to me and that Chloe had no legal claim to it whatsoever because it was received after I'd already filed for divorce and was clearly separate property. The judge took about 15 minutes to review everything, and then he made his ruling. Chloe got absolutely nothing. 0% of the inheritance. She was ordered to return the $43,600 she'd stolen. She was ordered to pay my legal fees, which, let me tell you, were substantial. And then, the judge referred her case to the district attorney's office for possible criminal charges related to identity theft and unauthorized computer access. Chloe burst into tears right there in the courtroom, and her attorney looked like he wanted to disappear into the floorboards. Liam was sitting in the back, subpoenaed to testify if needed, and I watched him put his head in his hands when the judge read the decision. The aftermath? Even sweeter than the courtroom victory. Chloe lost her job 2 weeks after the hearing. Word got around her office about what happened, and the company decided someone with that kind of judgment wasn't fit for a leadership role. Liam lost his job too. His company had a strict ethics policy, and carrying on an affair while helping someone hide marital assets didn't look good for a sales director. Olivia took their house in her divorce and got primary custody of their 2 kids. Liam ended up moving into a small apartment across town, paying massive child support. Chloe had to move back in with her parents because she couldn't afford rent after returning the stolen money and paying my legal fees. Her friends stopped talking to her once they found out what she'd done, and her family was humiliated by the whole situation. She tried to reach out to me a few times after everything was final, sent emails apologizing, saying she'd made terrible mistakes, asking if we could talk. I blocked her on everything and never responded. Liam even sent me a message on LinkedIn, of all places, saying I'd ruined 2 lives and that I should be ashamed of myself. I wrote back one time. I told him that he and Chloe had ruined their own lives by being selfish and dishonest, and that I'd simply refused to be a victim of their choices. Then I blocked him, too. As for me, I sold the house because I didn't want to live there anymore with all those memories. I bought a beautiful property outside the city with enough land for a much bigger workshop. I'm building custom furniture again, but now I can be selective about projects and only take on work I truly enjoy. I started dating Grace about 6 months after the divorce was finalized, a fantastic woman who owns a bakery downtown, and things are going really well. I haven't told her about the inheritance yet. I want to make sure we're solid before bringing that kind of money into the conversation, but I'm getting there. My life is honestly better now than it ever was with Chloe because I'm not living with someone who secretly hated me and was planning to betray me. Chloe is still living with her parents, as far as I know, working some entry-level marketing job, making a fraction of what she used to, and dealing with the reputation she earned. Liam is apparently miserable in his tiny apartment, seeing his kids every other weekend, and working a job he hates because nobody in his old industry will hire him. They thought they were so smart. Thought they could steal from their spouses, ride off into the sunset together with a pile of money. But greed and betrayal? They have a way of destroying everything they touch. Chloe assumed I was broke, assumed she could cheat and steal and then take half of everything when it was convenient for her. But she gambled on the wrong person. She could have just asked for a divorce. Honestly, she could have walked away with her dignity. Instead, she chose to lie, to scheme, to steal. And now? She has nothing. Sometimes, karma doesn't need any help. It just needs patience. If you've ever faced a betrayal like this, or even just seen karma in action, I want to hear about it. What would you have done in my shoes? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, give it a like and subscribe for more wild tales.